Hey everybody, it's Tim Kulig, Free Music Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Kulig, and I've got my best friend Tom Seymour here with us today.
Hey, I'm Tom Seymour with VHS Massacre. Thanks for being with us today. This is going to be a fun one, I think.
Yeah, caveat today, we are testing out some new equipment, so there may be a little jog, there may be a little non-traditional post-editing stuff going on, but you're along for the ride.
Should be okay. I upgraded my webcam to the Obsbot Meet 2, which is a new camera that it does have some hand gestures. I really don't feel like testing them out right now. And it will, if you turn on tracking, it will track with you, which is it to some degree. I did
see that earlier. Like you moved like slightly left or right, and it's like was like moving around.
There is a one step above this it's a camera with an actual gyroscope. So you could, the super cool thing about that is if you had a show that was more of like a set where you were walking around a bit, you could just kind of let that thing go and it would track you, which I think is brilliant. Someone should make a virtual play or something and see how this thing behaved.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, anyway, so we're going to talk about a number of things. We're going to talk about some film festival updates, exciting things happening this weekend, actually. We're going to talk about Tim Kulig's music stuff first, and then we'll get into some fun commercial stuff that we've been digging lately. Yeah. So it's where Tim and I watch old commercials and talk about them, some of the historic value to them and stuff like that. There's a very mild academic edge to it.
I would say it was moderate. I wouldn't underplay that. For sure. Looking back 30 years and seeing how marketing has changed over time and kind of like, I don't know, like the adolescent infancy of marketing in the 70s and 80s, how direct it was and how strangely like right on the tip of your tongue it was. And it wasn't shrouded in like imagery or anything. It was like, see this thing? This is the thing. Here's a doctor that says this thing is good. Buy the thing. And it's like that direct. It's like very strange. Very strange.
For sure.
So we'll be getting into that in a little bit too.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun. We're going to be looking at the preview is the bit wars. We're going to talk about old video game marketing. Should be really interesting.
Near and dear to my heart,
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So Tim Kulig recently, he finally officially cracked the 900 song threshold.
Today.
Yeah. Yes. So how many tunes?
910. This one was a space ambience album, so 16 tracks. Not Beyonce, not like, the Thriller album. It's this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about utility. And I've been doing this in my head where I'm like, I'll finish an album that's like this, like in this style or this genre specifically, where the tracks themselves aren't super complicated. They don't really emulate the best of what I can produce as an artist. And I have to remind myself that utility also is very, very, very important when it comes to internet productions, movies, TV. Sometimes you just need this patch in the background or this song that doesn't evolve much. And the editor that's using it knows, okay, I dropped this in here. WYSIWYG. What I see is what I get, right? Like literally, it's going to do this. And it's going to do it for a minute and a half. And I don't have to worry about some weird transition or whatever that I'm going to have to battle with the scene or whatever, right? Like, it's functionally good and it creates these strange space ambient patches and places to go. And I kind of like them, They all have their own little story to tell. And I can see where their purpose and their usage could be used in various productions. They're just like things that were sitting on my heart. I'm like, I gotta finish mastering these things and make sure that they're functionally sound, they transition properly and they fade out, blah blah blah. And there was more there than I thought. Actually, I did an export of like 8 to 10 of them, and I'm like, oh, there's like another half a dozen in here that look like they can do some work. So it's a really weird path, Tom.
I think it's brilliant. I mean, I think like the we were talking about this, the sort of division of music, but like the sort of, Beyonce, Michael Jackson, Beatles type thing. And then you have this other pillar. There were some people who did, we looked up one person who did like over, 2,000-3,000 songs back in the day, but it wasn't in the royalty-free space. And I think the royalty-free music space is a completely different silo because the mission is totally different.
Right.
You're offering to give this music for people's productions. They don't have to pay up front unless they want some kind of specialized license, It's a different mission. I like it more. I think it's exciting. It's like, when people use that word synergy, it's actually synergy, where it's like you're doing your best work, and then people can use your best work in their best work,
There's a level of altruism to it too, right? Not to not to try to toot your own horn or anything, but like literally you're giving it away to the end user. Like, all you have to do is tell people where you got it, and then I rely on other revenue streams.
Don't be, keep Tim's name on it. Just don't be dirty about it. Keep the creditation correct, and then you're good, and that's that. What I wanted to say is, in that space, when we were looking up other royalty-free music people, obviously the king is Kevin MacLeod, which has over 2,000 songs. How many? 2,500? I don't know.
It's about that. Yeah, it's about that. I mean, he would argue that there's some stuff way back from the beginning that he's like, those are unremarkable, blah, blah. But I'm like, wait, you're going counter to your own advice, which is, in the beginning, he told me, like, dude, put it. It's not up to you to decide what's good or not. Let the public decide that. Put it out, Yeah. If it's as good as you can make it, polish it and master it and put it out in the world. And there's still stuff to this day, stuff from like Bikini Bloodbath and like
horror films and stuff.
Horror films that were just, they did work once and then they sat on a hard drive, and I'm like, well, it's part of my catalog. I should put it out there. And sure enough, there's like Creepy Woods is one that people use all the time.
Oh yeah, from Monster Kill, from trauma flicks,
There's a whole bunch, like there's about half a dozen tracks from the Monster Kill series too.
Yeah, I still like those. I like those because they're fun. They're like that fun Halloween you talked about, like
which that's coming too. I gotta get my act together in the next 4
days. Well, because Tim has some really hard horror themes.
Oh my god,
upsetting
there's stuff that scares the hell out of me.
It's great. It's brilliant shit. But anyway, congrats to Tim on cracking 910, and I think so. What I was saying before is that when we looked up a bunch of royalty-free music, a lot of people in the 6 pushing 700 range. I've never seen anyone at 1,000 besides Kevin. I've never seen it. They may be out there, but it's not people within the stuff I had used and that I've seen.
Which is dude out of Spain, I think. Music L Files. He does a lot of intros and corporate beds and stuff like that. And based on the catalog I saw of him, he's probably reaching or approaching or exceeding that 1,000 mark. And I think people like Sasha and a couple other people I know are probably at or around that. But there's also some artists out there that are using a lot of AI generated stuff that they may have, little to no hands on, which it's kind of like
that's a separate that's a separate silo
on that.
You have to you really have to. That's
because the jury's out, dude. I still don't know what's going to happen with those tracks in the future.
Do you really even own them?
Right?
Because they're basically a du jour of human.
A language model, a large language model of music. So it's hard to say. So I stay away from it for my core catalog for sure.
Yeah. So hey, exciting film festival news. Anyone who's been following our latest documentary, Video Dreams, our 30-year journey to get on the shelf at Blockbuster Video and beyond. Feature-length documentary, autobiographical, includes some narration by Tim, and Tim is also in it, and includes the bulk of the songs are Tim Kulig's songs, which is exciting. And so, this weekend, we are screening at the Spirit of Independence Film Festival.
Sweet.
Let me see here. Let me look this up. We got Video Dreams will screen Sunday, the 28th at Spirit of Independence in the Sheffield, United Kingdom. Spirit of Independence is a British Independent Film Award qualifying film festival, which is kind of a big deal.
Is it a BAFTA qualifier?
It's BIFA is the other large award ceremony. The BIFA deals with independent. BAFTA deals more so with studio productions.
Okay.
Although I don't, BAFTA's obviously very impressive, but BIFA would be like the equivalent in America would probably be the Indie Spirit Awards. But to win that Spirit of Independence would
That'd be huge.
it'd be huge. It'd be pretty close to that. And as Americans, we can't actually qualify for. We couldn't win a BIFA award unless our production was 60% made in the United Kingdom.
Oh, that's an interesting fact I didn't know.
Yeah, so this would be the closest we'll come to winning a BIFA if somehow we could win here. Not
Now,
to say that we.
Is this the fifth festival in the UK that we've been accepted into this
Yeah,
year?
I think it is the 5th. Yeah, there's Phantasmagoria that's coming up early October. It's either October 4th or 5th. We have Sin XS, which is the top genre film festival. It's tied. I think it's Fright Fest and Sin XS. But Sin XS has got more they got more swagger because it's connected to academia. So it's got some serious prestige, which was wild that we got into that. That was I'm delighted. Also this weekend, currently, The Dreams will be screening Monday, September 29th. Okay, so just in a few days, at Torino Underground, a big heavy-hitting underground film festival in Italy.
Mm-hmm.
Very honored to be part of that. There's pictures. Can I share a little bit? Okay, let's see. You can see. Yeah, it looks like it's going well, right?
Yeah. These are
Good.
live shots from this weekend?
Yeah, this is from yesterday, I think.
Oh, nice. That's a good amount. This is like a 100-seat theater.
Yeah, it's nice, right?
Cool.
Got that. And I think I might be able to. Here, let me do this. Let me bring up Spirit of Independence.
Just remember to unshare it so it's not sitting on the screen for.
Yep. Yeah, that's. I brought it back to us, so I wouldn't have to suffer my.
No, it's all right.
Okay, here we go. Bam. All right, check this one out. This is from a screenshot from Spirit of Independence Film Festival.
Nice.
And incredible turnout. This one's Youthful Spirit Collection, showing the best short films from schools, colleges. Yeah, that's cool. I realize Spirit of Independence also has an academic angle, which is kind of cool.
I mean, it would be so cool to be like a multimillionaire and just go to all these and check out screenings and actually watch the film in theaters around the world.
Yeah.
So cool.
I mean, we really could have. It was like last weekend was Lake County in Chicago area.
Yep.
We got two, United Kingdom, Italy. And then here, let me stop for a second. I'm going to bring up, if anyone's curious about this stuff here, on VHSmassacre.com, nice and easy. I just listed some of the festivals we got going on.
Yeah, perfect.
Phantasmagoria, October 5th, Sin Excess, October 20th. Red Rose. We recently got into Red Rose. I delivered a DCP to them, digital cinema package, which was pretty cool.
Explain that a little bit to the audience, Tom, because that's something I learned about recently too.
Yeah, so a digital cinema package is a standardized format that a movie theater would use, contemporary movie theater. So if you're not able to play 35 millimeter film print, or even 70 millimeter, some rare cases, and you're working with digital, you're gonna use a digital cinema package. Now, typically that's just a set of files specifically made to play with contemporary projection systems. And the way it works is you would take your master, let's say you had a 4K Apple ProRes master, and then you would use software to convert it. But in the conversion software, you'd have a few different choices of aspect ratio. If you made an unusual film, like you did it some kind of crazy, cinescope, crazy like aspect
Instagram,
ratio.
it's like 4x4 or some stupid, like something crazy.
Yeah, if you did something very non-traditional, you would need like a professional company to come in and be like, oh, we did ultra widescreen or something. But the DCP, there's free software. I think I use DCP-O-Matic, and it will give you a few choices. 2K, and I think there's like a 1080p option, and there's like a 2K option. So I did the 2K option, even though Video Dreams was like a 4K movie. And then it would give you an aspect ratio, and then you would typically have to just tweak it a little bit, stretch it or push. Actually, you don't stretch it. You zoom into it very mildly.
Okay.
And then Um, and then it would kind of process it, and that the DCP-O-Matic would give it probably generic instructions of how it should be matted and stuff like that. So there's data in it that if you're in a movie theater and you see the matte box change, you hear the motors go, and the matte will go zzz, not just the curtain but the way it's matted. That's, I think, data incorporated
from the DCP, right?
From the DCP.
export. Yeah.
And
that's why they request it, because it creates that whole automatic thing, because most of those booths aren't really manned anymore, right? They're on a loop, and they're timed to, like, this gets played then, this gets played then, and with major motion picture releases, right? Those are all DCP. Nobody hands somebody a physical movie to play anymore, right?
I think I think there are mom and pop theaters, and there's the Angelica, Quentin Tarantino's movie theater. They deal in 35 millimeter prints. Yeah, I think probably I don't know. I don't know the stats, but it's got to be like 9 out of 10 theaters or something like that.
Right.
If it's not that, let's just say the majority work with digital cinema now.
From a cost perspective, it's got to be, right?
Yeah.
It's just so much cheaper to download the file and just play it. So,
and in that DCP-O-Matic, there's testing software too. So once it's complete, you test it, and I test it, watched the whole way through, made sure it worked and it looked good, and it looked pretty good to me. And so now those files are very large, about 120 gig file. Red Rose wanted to us to upload it to their WeTransfer. Spirit of Independence just took a Google Drive link, and Torino Underground, they took a Google Drive link, I believe. So yeah.
Does Film Freeway offer a repository for full DCP packages when people accept the film?
No, I don't believe so. Not that I've seen. What they will do is when you upload their screener's decent. I think it's like a 1080p digital screener. Yeah. I don't think it'll go 4K. But what they'll do is they'll provide an option for the film festival runners to request a download. So from time to time, if a film festival might just say, the 1080p is perfect for our venue, they'll request a download, and then once I approve it, they just pull it right from Film Freeway. But it's not that's probably like a 10 gig file versus the DCP would retain the quality of the master.
Okay. Okay.
So
now,
I think
are these all the ones that we're actually playing? I'm looking at the screen share again.
Yep.
Are those all the ones we're currently playing, or is there more than this that we've actually screened? I know we've been accepted into
for sure. Yeah. The ones we actually screened. Yeah, I can show you that. Give me 1 second.
This is great though, because it tells you everything that's coming up.
I did it out of like necessity. I was like, I gotta organize this stuff. Okay, let me do this. All right, we're gonna share. All right, this is our. Does this have everything? Tri-Cities. No, this does not. This doesn't have everything. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
1 minute, please.
Finding the info. Yeah, I imagine October is going to be as busy as we thought September was going to be because of the festivals that had to punt the notification dates.
Yeah.
Throughout September. Am I correct in that statement?
God willing?
Yeah.
I guess it depends, It depends. I will say, last night a rejection came through from Telluride Horror Show.
Okay.
Not a huge surprise. I think they're pretty hardcore horror. So that, some horror festivals really love documentaries that are, I would say, mix very well with horror themes.
Okay.
And then some festivals are like, no, we're just doing straight up narrative horror.
That's fair.
It's not that they didn't do docs occasionally, but like if you look at their breakdown, you know, it's not
always a fit, right?
Yeah, it's not always a perfect fit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So can you see the list here?
Yeah.
Tri-Cities just came through. This is a brand new win. Tri-Cities International Film Festival in Washington gave us the Best Documentary Award. That was excellent, and we're screening there in early November. That's going to be amazing. So a lot of these have gone by. Everyone at the top has gone by.
Mm-hmm.
Montreal Requiem Theatre Fest, that just completed a few weekends ago. That was great. That's a Canadian horror film con and a screening, and it's one of the more recognized. That combination of con and screening, I forget what happens in Montreal. That might be Fantasia or something. There's another big genre fest, but this is one that has a horror con built in, so it's actually pretty significant.
Nice.
Lake
and to
County,
be clear, the ones above were also selections, obviously.
Yep.
But they are also their wins/selections. So
yeah, and below are just most of these are still in competition.
Yeah.
So we don't know what the deal is.
We got about 50 behind it, right? Got about 50 festivals behind all these.
Yeah.
So we got a ways to go.
I think there's 26 here, which means we've heard back from 50. We've gotten to 26.
Yeah, that's not a bad ratio, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, it might be 25, but basically it's a 50%. Oh, slightly over 50% selection rate.
Yeah.
Phantasmagoria, that's coming up. World Festival in Cannes, that's not the Cannes. We were a finalist there. That already completed.
Mm-hmm.
Sweden completed. Indie Cinema completed. Science and Tech, that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Synesthesia, that's in Portugal. That's coming up. Black Sunday completed. That was actually the first UK premiere.
Okay.
And that actually got us into Dread Central and on MSN. And that's something to take into account too. Festival runs are not just festival runs. If you get into a solid genre film festival, they'll do their own press. So you end up getting in Dread Central for playing in this festival in the United Kingdom,
Yeah.
So things can cascade in that way, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's literally like the acceptance is free advertising for the film and the film run we're doing. So it's fantastic.
Yeah, so we have about 50 film festivals left to hear back from. It might be like 49, but basically...
Well, it runs through, about April, May of next year? Or is it into the fall next year, too? Is there a couple spillovers?
Into, like, August. It's into August. Yeah, I mean, it's... just short of fall, which essentially means we're doing a 1.5-year film festival run.
Yeah, which is unprecedented, typically, for us. But this one was a big push. It's 3 decades worth of work, and it's really something we wanted to celebrate for sure.
Yeah, I mean, now's the time. This is the film, and I think we kind of both decided like we got to play this to the end, and then we'll worry about streaming after, and we'll worry about some other stuff too. We're thinking of possibly playing it, and even on some New York public television at some point. But who knows? I don't know. The feature-length format is not like, typically they want like between like 28-minute and like 55-minute shows.
Mm-hmm.
So it may not be right for public television, but.
Yeah, and it's tight the way it is. To cut it down would be kind of taken away from the overall message of the film.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth it. We have another short horror doc that I'm hoping one of our buddies will take that route with. But that's up to him really. Yeah, so I think that's what I got going on. I was excited to see all the crowds, even though I'm not there in the United Kingdom, and I'd love to be at the Sheffield one. It's it looks like it'd be really funny and really fun, and the Torino one looks exciting. Yeah, it looks like they're all about it. So
the aspiration is to start to actually go to these and take the leap and travel. Get over to Europe for one or two of these would be awesome.
Yeah, it would be cool. In the next few months, we'll hear back from some festivals in the New York, New Jersey area. And like I said, God willing, we'll get into a couple of those. And I think Tim's going to come up for one of those. Timmy K's down in Florida. We are entered into a Tampa Bay Underground. I had to find I had to find the right type of festival. Like, Underground seems to be our jam with Video Dreams.
Yeah.
And Tampa's close to you, so that would be ideal,
I could throw a stone at Tampa from here.
Yeah, close, pretty close. So yeah, lots. There's still Selection to CineXS being a top genre festival. I believe has opened up a corridor to still get to an Academy Award qualifying film festival. Something that I kind of wanted to do for myself, kind of treating the younger self that's still within your mind. The 20-year-old Tom that saw, Good Will Hunting and Clerks and thought that they could be a filmmaker, Yeah. So it would be nice to really crack that.
Here's the crazy thing. In aspiring to that goal, we are.
Right.
We are filmmakers. Like, that's just because we haven't yet, gotten into an Academy Award, situation or position doesn't discount the fact that we've been making films for 30 years.
Yeah, and you don't. This is the other thing too, is that like sometimes you make these goals and you don't get the exact goal, but but you have to look at what you have done. So like we won at Vancouver Horror Show in 2020. That is a Canadian Screen Award qualifying fest. We won there. That's their Academy Award. We're in Spirit of Independence. That's BIFA, and you go where you're wanted. So you have these aspirations, but they have to make sense, and you have to go where you're wanted. So if we don't get the Academy Award qualifying, I think by the end of the run, hopefully we'll be surprised by something else,
For sure.
So.
And I think we will. I always feel like every film we put through the festival circuit, there's disappointments, but more importantly, there are the shock and awe. It's like, we got what? We got a gold, a gold telly?
Telly for American Expendables.
American Expendables? I was like, yeah. I'm like, how freaking cool is that?
Yeah, that was super cool. Yeah.
Unexpected, completely unexpected. So very, very exciting things can happen. You just have to ride the ride, man. You have to get stuff on the festival circuit, and
we did invest. Like Tim and I both have put a lot of money into this.
Yeah.
But I had actually saved up a good chunk of change and to do this, knowing that. And it actually, when I started to enter some of these festivals, the dates were coming up quick, and financially it wasn't the best time at that moment. But I had this money. And I was like, well, I said I was going to do this. It's now or never. Let's do it.
Right.
So I did it, and it actually worked out great. And so. But a weird thing can happen where you get a few rejections, then you get fired up, and then you're like, well, I'm entering 3 more. So the rejections fire you up as much as the acceptances,
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's an important aspect to share with the audience too, is that if in doing a festival run, especially if you go Film Freeway, and I highly recommend that based on the experience I've had with you doing it, but also based on the simple fact that there are festivals out there that'll do full waivers or are a fraction of the cost of some of the big ones that people don't typically get into because they are really a corporate arm extension of the studio system. Yeah. And it's just a reality. It's not a gripe. It just is. You know what I mean? We're in a different world than we were 15, 20 years ago, with physical media being the prominent source of distribution of art.
Yeah.
Now it's streaming, and there's a whole different platform and a whole different playing field as how people are going to recoup their money, and some of those things are modified.
There's higher stakes to some degree now, and it's not a secret that the American film movement is primarily financial.
Mm-hmm.
It's driven by capitalism, so it can leave out a lot of artists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a reality. But there are other countries that make it more of like a national. We celebrate it more as national art, and the government gets more involved in nurturing this kind of stuff. And you could argue for or against all of that,
Yeah. I mean, there have been jokes for years about sequel-based IP, in the movie industry, and, live action versus animation adaptations and stuff like that, all to capitalize on something that hit gold, right?
Right.
I mean, Disney's classic for that. They'll take something like The Lion King and do like a live action on it, and, any number of other things. And honestly, other industry, like other spaces, other international spaces, are more inclined to do what you said, which is the artistic side of things. They're like, we want to see something different. It's the whole reason I respect the BBC so much, because they won't jump the shark, so to speak, with their series. They'll run a series as much before it hits that point. The Office was a classic example. I mean, that only went like, what, 2-3 seasons? And they're like, we've done all the things we're going to do, and that's it. Whereas the American version went, what, like 10, 12 years?
Just burn it, run it into the ground.
Yeah, until people just stop, until our percentage is low single digit,
They had people quitting the show. Was it Carell? Steve Carell was like, I quit. They get someone else in there.
Still going for like 2-3 years.
Yeah, they're like, it. Keep it going.
It's like,
it's making money. Yeah. So it's just reality. So yeah, a lot of these larger festivals, they have sponsors. They have people paying their bills, paying salaries.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have sponsorship, then the type of film that you select, there's a ultimately powerful bias towards big productions, big stars. And that's, is it corruption? I don't, if you're purely an artist, you could see that as like some kind of financial corruption, but it would more, I guess, to be generous, it's just a bias towards films that people will come to see. And if you're talking about you got to pack the houses, then that's reasonable. That's the deal. You can't have empty seats.
Sony sponsors some film festival. There's gonna be a large percentage of Sony films in there. I mean, come on, like that's if you don't understand that, you're delusional. Like that's just the reality. They're footing the bill.
Yeah, and the other thing too is there is it's kind of open. Like there's this concept of alumni. If you play in a festival, they kind of know you. And so then there's like this alumni status. You can submit, and maybe they're like, oh yeah, we selected this guy, does good work. Let's take a look at their film again. So that can help you.
We've gotten lucky in that regards with a few festivals. Where
a handful did. I'd say more than quite often that's given us no protection. I'd say more so if we've won, like Vancouver Horror Show, which I love those guys, awesome festival. But we won in 2020 and we didn't get in with our last 2 films. Mm-hmm. But that's just a matter of that was kind of a long shot to get into that anyway. So,
right.
And we won like audience choice, So
right. And that could a major factor with that too is who from the festival is looking at it. What is their sensitivity and sensibility as far as what they like and don't like? So year over year, you could be getting a different person every time and a completely different interpretation of your art. Plus, you're giving them something else, right?
It's different. Yeah. I mean, both our last 2 films, American Expendables and Video Dreams, are not pure horror docs,
right?
And that just may be an instance where, first of all, their schedules, they don't play that many features. That's something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of these festivals, they'll fill it up with shorts, and obviously there's less features than shorts. And so there's just not that many slots.
Right.
So it is what it is, but there's been Chicago Horror we didn't get into.
Mm-hmm.
And we had won that a couple years ago. But again, honestly, that probably has more to do with our film and it being not straight up horror,
Right.
So, and that was the gamble with this one. I really didn't know. How do you know? You got to enter the film festivals, and because the judge might
get the feedback from the festival. Okay, in the future, if we have elements of horror in it, but it's not a predominant, then we know to avoid horror-centric festivals in the future.
Yeah.
And do more special interest type of thing or documentary focus.
Yeah, but really it's just been not the case with Video Dreams. It's just kind of random
all over, right?
Yeah, I know. Like the phenomenon with us doing very well in Europe, France, Italy, UK, three of the major like places where cinema's most respected. You know, we're destroying it there. You know, we're doing great. There in Italy, obviously, there's a that's so ingrained in their culture. But then United Kingdom, there is a phenomenon with this thing called video nasties. In the United Kingdom, they came up with a list of horror films to be banned. So they actually had an outright ban on a lot of their physical media back in the day. And that stuck in their minds. And it was a massive piece of British culture, that censorship. So when I was researching, I was like, why are we doing so well in the United Kingdom? A part of it has to do with that. A lot of what we consider like cult film, independent film here in the US is much more mainstream over there.
Yeah.
So like Lloyd Kaufman is, to them, Lloyd Kaufman's like Sam Raimi, you know?
Yeah.
He's like a big independent film director. And I remember even our friend Mike Mangelo did this film called Being Michael Madsen. And over there, Michael Madsen was like really big. They, Reservoir Dogs and all that stuff, Kill Bill, they kind of, for him, he was like, I mean, not quite like Brad Pitt, but he was like really up there,
like a Hasselhoff, maybe.
Yeah, so like they really liked him. He was on all these like big British talk shows, and stuff like that. Yeah, there's not like a there's cultural distinctions, that I'm not fully aware of,
Yeah. Plus there's a foundational like chain, like a completely different zeitgeist when it comes to what they focus on when it comes to film and honoring film versus the Hollywood system. So that's, again, we're talking, the Video Dreams talks about the independent filmmaker's journey and the whole underdog scenario and how to fulfill your dreams on shoestring budgets and just no industry insiders. You're just doing the thing, man. You're just, let's tell a story. Let's document the history of this studio. I mean, the North American Pictures thing was so much fun to explore. It was like, man, like digging in and doing a little deep dive on that whole genre of filmmaking specific to the martial arts era of the 80s and 90s. Like, so much fun to explore. And, I don't think it had been done like that before. Not from that perspective, not from a studio-centric perspective, maybe from a genre perspective, but certainly not the studio specifically,
No, yeah, no one, like, but some of those films, the Tiger Claws films, people knew about them. Red Scorpion, Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
But they were never McBain, Christopher Walken, but they were never like, frankly, they're never the best of any of those people's work.
Right.
Like Cynthia Rothrock, it would Meals on Wheels and Yes Ma'am. And she did all these crazy Hong Kong films that are just like blow your mind away. In the United States, like China O'Brien was pretty popular. Yeah. The Tiger Claws were fun, but they were not like as a showcase for her martial arts, were not the top.
Yeah. In fact, number 3, she was in it in the beginning and the end, right? I think that was the
yeah, she's pregnant.
Yeah, she was pregnant at the time.
Yeah. So but I did recently, I was talking to our friend Mike Aransky about this, and he's like, "You guys, you're not doing American Expendables 2? You should do that." And I was like, "We have thought about it." I was like, Tim and I talk about it constantly.
Yeah.
I thought I found something. PM Entertainment had some really interesting films with some martial artists. So we'll get more into that, but it's complicated. PM Entertainment made films, but then was acquired by Echo Bridge. Echo Bridge is actually very large, and then I think they're acquired by one more level.
Okay. This is the one you sent me recently?
Yeah.
We talked about a little bit?
Yeah, so there's like a big conglomerate that owns it's something like 3,000 film catalog. And so it's I don't know, it's possible, but we'd have to be like super careful about how we approach the doc to be responsible,
Sure.
So anyway, do you want to watch some commercials?
Yeah, let's do it up, man. This is another kitchen sink episode, and we're just covering a lot of bases here. But in addition to that, we're exploring this one of the next documentary ideas that we have churning around in the background. We often start it at this level. We start it at the level of podcasting about it and talking about it and discussing it and delving deeper into it. And the next thing you know, we have these ideas and enough footage that we put together a rough sketch. And I mean, that's in essence American Expendables, right? That's how we went down that rabbit hole.
Yeah. And technically, the first VHS Massacre was started in parallel with the podcast, New York City.
Yeah.
And so that was like somewhat of an overlap. Yeah. So, yeah, it's not VHS 2 had some podcasting stuff in there too. So, yeah, it's kind of how we roll. So, the Bit Wars.
Ooh.
This one, we're going to do a little bit about video game consoles. So, at Atari 2600.
I had
you had that Atari 2600?
I did.
That was an 8-bit console, I believe. And then you had NES after that.
Mm-hmm. I never owned one personally. I always went to friends' houses and played their games.
Mm-hmm. For the Atari?
No, for the NES. The NES.
I
never owned an NES.
Me neither. It wasn't until I was like 17, 18, I had a SNES.
Okay.
Yeah, my family got me a used Super NES, which was glorious. With Street Fighter 2, that was like the most phenomenal.
Bye, Tom. See you in a year.
Yeah, yeah. Probably my favorite gift. Yeah. That's pretty incredible.
I had a huge window. I went from Atari 2600 to Apple IIc games for the longest time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next real system I ever got was a PS1. So I skipped all the stuff in between.
Yeah.
Like everything in between.
I started with Commodore 64 computer, which is, there was a VIC-20, actually. VIC-20 was before that. Very simple games. But when the Commodore 64 came through with games like The Last Ninja that were like isometric, pretty beautiful games, like for the software.
Yeah.
The isometric
Impossible Mission. I mean, that was phenomenal. Impossible Mission with the using the extreme level of the freaking synthesizer on that thing. You know, where you literally had voices.
Yeah, another visitor.
Would you stay a while? Stay forever.
Yeah. Brilliant. Yeah, so that was, and it used actually this SID chip, which was a tremendous synthesizer at the time. And to this day, there's people who do chip tunes and do weird
with that, right?
Yeah, they take the SID chip. They do weird shit, dude. I've seen Commodore 64s with guitar necks on them.
you gotta send me that. I haven't seen that. Yeah, that'd be amazing. And for all the kids at home, like non-Gen X people, VIC-20 was a K computer. Okay. Commodore 64 was a K computer. K.
Kilobyte.
I mean, you don't have empty Word files that are that small anymore. You don't, because it has to take into account all the macros and stuff that are built into the software and everything. It just doesn't exist. They were so efficient. They were so super efficient. There was like no line of code that was wasted back then. Crazy.
Yeah, and it's a trip. Yeah, it's exactly. A lot of these games people don't understand is that like a lot of it had to do some of the difficulty level, the wild level of difficulty had to do with not wanting to cheat you. If they made it easy. Example of Contra. Once you put in the NES, you put the code in, you would always beat the game, and probably 15 minutes. Given it was an amazing 15 minutes, and you would do it over and over again. It's like the best, one of the best games ever made. But like a lot of those Commodore 64 games and stuff, they were exceptionally hard because there just wasn't that much space. You couldn't have 100 levels. You had to have 8.
Right. Yeah, but those 8 levels might have taken you 6 months to beat.
Yep.
And you got your money's worth out of it, right? Like that's really the bottom line.
Yeah, yeah. So as we moved out of the computer phase, I mean, there was less. Yeah, they were talking. It was in kilobytes, right? VIC-20, and you could go back, not to get crazy, but like one of the first technical computer games was Alan Turing, who made one of the first computers to crack the Enigma machine in World War II.
Right.
the Turing machine, after he had defeated the Nazis, he wrote the schematics for a chess program, which I think they were unable, he never got to test it, but someone found them and tested it, and it was a Turing machine, which would have been made in the 40s with these giant tumblers that would calculate.
Was it precursor of Big Blue or Deep Blue, whatever the one was that they built the chess game on? Is that ultimately what it was? Or
I think so. I think that this is literally talked about as the first computer game, and it played an average game. It could play as an average player.
Yeah.
You know? If you were really good, you could beat it. But it was all schematic based.
Right.
But that's debatably the first. And then, of course, there were radar machines that people began to adapt into computer games. I think Computer Space was one of the first of those. And this was probably, it's earlier than you think. It might be the 60s. But the Turing machine, that schematic, he wrote it in the 40s. I don't know if they tested it maybe till the 50s or 60s. I'm not sure. But that's the origin of essentially computer games. So it's just slow evolution. So by the time you get to like, VIC-20, what was it, 5 kilobytes? Commodore 64, oh my God, 64 kilobytes. Okay, but then we get into game systems, Atari and NES, 8-bit. Frankly, I don't know the jump. What's a bit? Kilobit?
A bit is a bit, It's 8 bytes makes a bit,
yeah,
I believe.
Okay.
And depending upon the character, it can be anything from 2 to 4 bytes per character.
So it was a visual. It was a visual thing.
It was not only that, but it was how many reference characters can you hold in memory at once? So
Okay.
That's like of all the code, like all the code base. If you're going to run the whole code base, it's got to be under that number in order to run it all. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
I get this.
Something along that. That's a very simplistic description of it.
Okay.
I'm sure.
I got this. 8-bit refers to data processed or displayed using 8 binary digits representing 256 possible values, 0 through 255 in computing. It describes systems in which 8-bit data width, such as processors that handle 8-bit data at the time. In graphics, it means each pixel is defined by 8 bits, limiting the number of displayed colors to 256, a characteristic of early systems and retro aesthetics. This means the central processing unit, CPU, operates with data or memory addressing that are 8 bits wide. It processes that and handles information in chunks of 8 bits. So it's okay. All right. So that was Atari 2600.
The NES.
Right. NES. But we really didn't clock that. They never advertised Atari or NES really in bits that I remember.
Wasn't until a Genesis, right? Genesis 16-bit, right?
Yes.
It's like a Genesis was 16-bit. Super NES, I think, was 16.
All right, so let's start with Genesis. Okay, give me a second. Let me switch this over.
I must have spawned another window. It was like, wee.
Go. All right. Here we go. Let me know if the volume's okay.
Yeah, sure.
All right. Oh, can we go one more? We'll do one more.
Rambo.
Okay, pretty awesome. I saw 2 things. Genesis, first of all, having Michael Jackson and Joe Montana was just like a giant fuck you, like, to Nintendo.
Yeah.
It's just, we will bully you with our celebrity.
Insane, because those little clips cost them millions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just that product association with those celebrity. It just, oh my God. That was peak Michael Jackson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We're talking
Smooth Criminal. Yeah.
Mid to late 80s for the Genesis system? It's gotta be.
Yeah.
Maybe late 80s, early 90s?
Maybe very early 90s.
Okay. Yeah, now that I think about it, I'm probably being a little early on it.
Let's see. Yeah. I don't see a date on it. We'll figure that out. But yeah. Late 80s, early 90s. A number of things. Play arcade game quality at home. That was actually true in some cases. The ones they're showing, like Golden Axe and Altered Beast, those were pretty close.
Yeah.
So Genesis was exceptional quality, and then it was just like it was a giant fu to Nintendo. It was like celebrities, awesome graphics, 16-bit,
Yeah.
and then essentially, I think starting the bit war at that point.
Yeah, Gemini says 1989 in North America.
Oh wow, okay.
So
yeah, you're
we were about
dead on. Yeah,
we were about 15. I was about 15 at the time, so that makes sense. That makes sense to me. But yeah, that's when things started getting crazy, right? Still all very cartridge based up until this point.
Yep.
So that's a thing that you need to talk about as well. Literally, like every system had some kind of physical cartridge based media to put into the system and play the game. Now, all that changed when the PlayStation 1 came out, and they had a processor in it for vector graphics that was unprecedented. And the reason that they brought that into the equation was because they wanted to do so many polygons per second so they could actually do full motion video and like video cutscenes and that kind of thing. You couldn't do that on a cartridge based thing because it just didn't have the capacity to store all that. But when you take a DVD and put a game on there, everything changed. Everything changed.
Yeah. Eventually you get to systems. Well, I'll get to it a little bit later. But so this was very interesting. We started to hear about bits, and you saw the quality. So you're like, okay, bits matter all of a sudden.
Yeah.
So then
the next jump's 32, right?
The next jump is 32, but I want to show. Actually, what I'm going to show is 32. One of the earliest. Again, there were other systems, TurboGrafx 16. There's so many. So this is not going to be a comprehensive video game.
3DO, right?
Yeah. There's a ton of them. This one I thought was
Sega CD.
Yeah, so
hilarious.
This I thought was an interesting commercial. 'Cause to me, the subtext is, don't be a nerd at Genesis. That other stuff is nerdy and childish. Don't be a nerd. Be tough. Be grown up.
Play a real system, right?
Yeah.
Play a real system.
Play a real system, yeah.
Not this other nonsense.
Yeah, and you got to hand it to the marketing for Sega CD because, again, I never had a Sega or a Sega CD. I would go over a friend's house. And at the time, it was pretty cool. Like, I think we played like Dragon's Lair and a few of those other like video-based games, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But in general, not great, you know?
Yeah. Like they were adequate versions of the games you could play in the arcade, but they were still emulators, right? They weren't 100% dead on. But I'll give you this. The marketing strategy in that commercial is a shift. Some of the stuff that we've seen in the 80s so far have been very direct, kind of like what I said earlier. It's what you see is what you get. The product placement, the product description, the authority that says this is something good, you want this, blah blah blah, right? Now we're appealing to your emotions and your vanity, right? Now the marketing's shifting more towards this is a lifestyle, right? This is, do you want to be average Joe playing a cartridge-based system with old school graphics and not as intense, or do you want this Sega CD, which is like the next level and really the penultimate system on the market right now? You know what I mean? Or do you want to be left behind? You know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There's a FOMO.
Yeah. FOMO. Yeah. And in a lot of sports games, emphasis on athleticism and sporting games.
Yeah.
And
ironic that 15, 20 years later, a whole industry called esports expands from it based on the fact that systems gravitated towards like relishing in and celebrating sports related games, right? Now it's like, now you can literally be an athlete, an esport athlete.
Yeah.
That seems like a misnomer, but
yeah, I know. It's like
you're not moving.
You're not moving. Yeah, you're playing Street Fighter.
All right.
Yeah.
You know, Dance Dance Revolution. One would argue you're moving. Okay.
Yeah.
But those are usually the exception, not the rule, when it comes to video games.
Yep. Yeah. So fascinating. Technically, that was 32-bit. It was it played a lot of games that would require video. Really compressed video. It didn't look that great. Boxing games, and there was you could say there was a chasm between using the video and video-based games with clips that you had to use reaction time. I forget the term for that, but it's like it's a time reaction.
Right. It's
game.
I know it specifically from the Dragon's Lair series or Space Ace. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was very specific to that because it's like people don't know, inside that thing was basically a laser disc and a timing mechanism that if you hit the button or the direction in the proper sequence, it would put the right video up and you'd advance to the next stage. Whereas if you were too slow or too fast, you lost the round and you lost a guy. So very interesting way of circumventing quality over experience, right? Like they wanted this high resolution animated graphic to be what you play. And in essence, you kind of are, but it's kind of turn-based, but with time limits on it. It's really neat what they came up with.
Yep. Yeah, I was looking for the term, but Google's doing me dirty.
Yeah. But Gemini sometimes knows. But, Gemini sometimes knows it right off the bat, but it's kind of a nuanced question.
QuickTime events? I don't know.
Because those kind of games evolved to DVD players, right? Like, not specific to, it included Dragon's Lair and the like, but they came out with other games that had the same functionality. You could use your controller at home and make those changes and make those quick decisions with the directional and the OK button.
Yeah, I have a number of those games. Dragon's Lair on DVD and Blu-ray. Yeah. And actually, I have a really weird one. Dragon's Lair 3 was actually like a PlayStation 2 game, I think. They made a Blu-ray of it, but it's PlayStation 2 graphics on a Blu-ray.
Interesting.
So you're still playing it that way, and it works. It's pretty fascinating, yeah.
I didn't even know they went that many games. I thought it was just the 1 and 2.
Yeah. It's somewhere. I thought it was pretty interesting.
It was Don Bluth, too, right? The guy that did All Dogs Go to Heaven and...
Yeah. Ex-Disney, man.
Yeah, Secret of Nim, right?
Yep. Okay, here is where we get into some strangeness with the bit wars. All right. So Atari Jaguar Do the Math commercial. This should be early 90s. Let's see.
Again, no other system on the market was running at 64-bit. Not even the CD or DVD-based systems, the PlayStation, the Sega CD, any of those other systems, they weren't running at 64-bit.
No.
So Jaguar was superior in that regards, for sure.
It was, so you had Sega CD, technically 32-bit. You had PlayStation 1, 32-bit. 3DO, 32-bit. Jaguar, advertised as a 64-bit system because of... Although Atari marketed it as such, while it featured a 64-bit graphics processor, blitter, and a 64-bit data bus, its main CPU was 32-bit Motorola 6800, making it overall architecture a mix of 16, 32, and 64 components, rather than a fully 64-bit system. This discrepancy led to controversy and claims over deceptive marketing.
Because a lot of the games didn't fully utilize its capacity. Right?
Yes.
Like, yeah, the graphics card can handle this, but the programmers have to be able to put in place enough to utilize that, right?
Yeah, very much so. It really didn't. The games didn't hold up. In some cases, I had a Atari Jaguar. I was very proud of it at the time. I think it was one of the only new systems I had bought, like on my own. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the ports were just like they looked slightly better. Like they take like the game Raiden, which was like a shmup, and it would look a little better. It was pretty much close to the arcade, pretty dead on. But again, this is essentially a 16-bit game. You don't see any additional resolution or graphics,
Right.
And so you had a number of games that were just ported, like Cannon Fodder. You would be hard pressed to find the difference between the Genesis and SNES version and the Jaguar version. So a number of these games look like straight up 16-bit, and a lot of people were disappointed in that. But there were games like Alien vs. Predator looked pretty exceptional for the time.
Yeah.
So clearly some games were pushing the hardware, at least using some of the 32-bit architecture.
Yeah. and they were all cartridge based initially.
Yeah. Initially,
And eventually they sold a CD or DVD based add-on for the system, but I don't think the system caught on enough, and it kind of just fizzled out, right?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I was looking for commercials for the CD add-on. I saw mine, and it was really just like a mashup of the other Jaguar stuff. So,
and that system was the death throw, right? It was pretty much the end of the Atari system era. Now, granted, there's still games that were produced for other systems that had an Atari based like logo
branding,
branding.
The Tempest 2000 for Jaguar system was exceptional. Like, don't get me wrong, there are a number of Atari Jaguar games that are exceptional. Tempest 2000 was one of them. They ported that to maybe like PS2. Tempest 3000, they called it. The Alien vs. Predator. The Doom port was the best console Doom port you could get. Well,
to date on that at that time, right?
At the time. Again, if you were on PC with a tricked out PC, I imagine it was better. So the system was no joke, and I have it. I actually have it. It doesn't work anymore, but I actually have the system, and I have a few cards. But I pretty much sold my collection at some point to get something different, and I of course regret it. I have like 2 or 3 Jaguar games. Cybermorph was the pack-in, and it was a good-looking game, but the polygons. We were talking about polygons earlier. This and believe it or not, the Nintendo 64. Actually, the Nintendo 64 was the only truly based 64-bit cartridge game, and they did that on cartridges, which took up a massive amount of. Like, the cartridges were super expensive.
Yeah. And
there's a reason there was only one truly 64-bit cartridge-based system. And because they were freaked out about piracy. Because all those CD games, PS1, Dreamcast Sega Dreamcast, which was a great system, got destroyed because of piracy.
Right.
So Nintendo was like, it's like it was a stopgap. They couldn't figure it out. We're doing cartridges, So it was an interesting move,
A lot harder to copy a chip versus a CD, right?
Yeah.
And even though the formatting was different, there were pirate software on computers that would emulate, and would burn it in the same formatting, whatever that is, the proprietary formatting for the software. And I never actually had any personally for my PS1, but I heard about it at the time. It just felt like, honestly, more so than getting something for free, it felt like more work than it was worth. I was like, for $20, I'll go get a game,
Yep.
Not that those were like the brand new prices, but I think my whole gaming life, I've always, unless it's some like 4-star, 5-star title, I would always wait until something dropped in price a little bit. Like, the exception for me is going to be GTA 6 next spring.
Oh, you're gonna pull the trigger on it?
I don't care if it's $100, whatever.
Yeah.
I'll pay it.
I'll have to see. Yeah. I'll see how into it you get.
Yeah.
Because you did the Cyberpunk thing, I never did. But if you're like, dude, you gotta get it, then I'll get it, especially if we're co-oping,
Yeah.
But I wanted to say real quick though, I think except pretty much after you had Nintendo 64, the bit war kind of went away. I think from there, it was more just about, because these systems became more like PCs with just like,
PCs with their own operating system. So the war shifted from bits to exclusivity, right? And I think PlayStation was more guilty of that than Xbox/Microsoft, because eventually, I mean, we're not even talking about the fact that Sega, Nintendo has its own niche, so you kind of have to put that in its like own asterisk special space.
Yeah.
It always is going to have Mario and kid-based programs and games.
They're less obsessed with cutting edge power and processing.
But like, the Sega systems fell off the map, the Atari systems fell off the map, and these obscure things like the 3DO, any one-off systems that just didn't catch a wave. And then ultimately it was just the PlayStation and Xbox. And what would happen is sometimes a game studio would make a game that's unique and specific to one platform. And that exclusivity would encourage, based on the quality of the game, would encourage people to buy that system. One of those games was Horizon Zero Dawn. That was exclusive to PlayStation. And then after so many years, they did a PC port, which technically is to, Microsoft, but it still wasn't allowed to play on the Xbox system. To this day, I don't think that's the case unless the current iteration of Xbox systems that are the next generation actually that's coming out is going to have, as I understand it, a Steam integration. So your entire Steam library will be playable on the console. So
Yeah.
it eliminates that bridge.
It's an interesting time. I've heard multiple things that I heard one camp saying, Microsoft's just getting out of the console game. They're just doing it slower than initially thought. And they're just gonna have more of like it's weird to have Steam on an Xbox system because you would think that they would segue out of console and just have an Xbox app essentially.
Yeah.
Like a Steam portal, you'd have an Xbox portal on your PC.
Yeah.
But now they're offering Steam too. And that it's a little confusing to me too. I'm like, so then you do want to sell consoles. And then like you start thinking, well, maybe they're just gonna crank out games. They're just games. And then Sony, I think, is so Sony could kind of be the last stand of the console.
That's a system that's solely console gaming, right? Well, but even that can be argued because I use it as a general entertainment system. I watch Amazon stuff on there. I watch Netflix, any of the streaming stuff that I have, Spotify, I listen to music on there. Plus I play games. So it's kind of my central repository to all that stuff. And I just have always liked that console's like graphic interface as well as the controllers, everything.
Yeah.
Right?
You play for the experience. The seamless gameplay, seamless co-op. I mean, for the most part, seamless. I mean, nothing's perfect.
Right.
The co-oping operating system, the ecosystem. Yeah, I think it's beautiful. I don't really. I have a Steam account. I haven't used it in years, but I don't care to sit in front of my PC and game like that. I don't like it. I want a huge screen like my TV
and a comfortable couch.
Comfortable couch. Some days it's a long day. I want the comfortable couch. Some days I'll put my game chair in front of the TV if I'm feeling really competitive. Like, I also don't want a second PC. I don't want a second. I mean, you could say, well, technically, Tom, that's a computer. Yes, but psychologically, it's different. I don't want to have to deal with like a fucking Windows PC next to my TV. No thanks. Even if it was a Mac, my Mac station, my computer's for work, I don't. That's just what I like,
Yeah. Yeah, and I like, dude, you start getting to certain level graphic cards that are on PCs, and it's a jumbo jet going off in your living room. You know what I mean? I mean, you can see, I don't know if it's in the shot. No, it's probably not in the shot. Not in this portrait shot. But to my right, there's my PC, and when that thing kicks off with a high graphic intensive game, and it's not even like the full RTX, it's a RTX 2070 or 28, like an older one, from like 5-6 years ago. It's like there's like 3 fans on the freaking card.
Yeah,
the card's like this thick and like this long, this big. It takes up a big chunk on the motherboard in there, and that's a whole nother thing that happened too. Graphic card, GPUs, and the evolution of GPUs, and a lot of it had to do with these gaming systems. They just got better and better and better, and they offloaded all that processing power to a GPU as opposed to the central processing unit for the main game code. And PCs and Apple and everything, I mean, Apple's not really known for their gaming, but PC-based games all took that ride, and now that's why you get these NVIDIA cards that are just monsters that have better processing and more capacity than, say, like your motherboard and the CPU on your system, because it just outsources all that stuff, and they're monsters. They're monster crunchers of data, 7-8 teraflops. That's trillions of calculations a second.
Yeah, it is incredible. I mean, it's definitely we're living in incredible times in that regard.
Yeah,
it's pretty amazing stuff. Yeah. So, well, this has been a not a complete video game thing. Maybe we should do one more down the road. See if we can dig
isolated.
Yeah, maybe we could pick up some of the old computers commercials and stuff. Try to fill in the gap up to Atari. That could be fun to just complete that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a whole different animal too. I mean, I picked up the PC experience from a very early age with my really early endeavors into PC-based music creation when I was in high school. And man, I had my first IBM clone, they called it. It wasn't actually an IBM branded computer. It just had the same architecture, but it was all generic parts, right? And it was $1,000 computer. Used the monitor from my Apple IIc to save money. The PC itself, half the cost, half the $1,000 was the guts associated with the motherboard, the memory, everything else, the modem, blah, blah, blah. And then the other half, the other 500, was the 20 megabyte hard drive. Storage was like super expensive at the time. And like people today are like 20 megabytes. Like I've got song files that are bigger than that on my computer. Yep, you do.
Yeah.
It's a different time, man.
Crazy, man.
You know? But yeah, this is good. This is going to add more fodder to that whole genre we're exploring with the commercials and everything. And I feel like yeah, there's different, it was different times for sure, and it was different emphasis on like basically making geekdom cool and like making lesser geeks even more so not cool. Specifically with that one, the Jaguar system, and also the Sega CD. It's like, don't be a nerd, dude. Get the real thing.
Yeah,
why do you waste your time with this kiddie toys over here?
It was. I mean, they definitely were successful at marketing Genesis as like the cool grown-up shit.
Yeah.
Whereas Nintendo was like the cutesy thing,
Yeah.
And at that time period, that's what people were going for. That was the zeitgeist. I mean, it was like athletics reigned supreme, and also pop music, So, it's very interesting. That type of marketing wouldn't work in 2025, I don't think. It might, but you'd be narrowing your audience,
Maybe as a nostalgic retrospective and catering to the desires and needs of that market segment, you know what I mean? Which is a big one. I mean, now Gen X, you and I are Gen X, and now we have potentially, in most cases, you're at a level in your career and your life and everything else where you have disposable income. And now it's the reason why these things come in cycles like this, right? So now I can afford to be nostalgic and purchase things that celebrate that nostalgia. So you can piggyback off of that. And like, you could literally do like a whole marketing deep dive on why these life cycles work, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because I mean, disposable income and where it falls in the life path of somebody when they get to a certain age, it just makes perfect sense to me in my head that I'm like, oh yeah, it's a peak time for this market segment because of X, Y, and Z. You know what I mean? Just very curious.
We should get into that absolutely, because there was a bracket. I forget what it is, 25 to 47 or something, that 45 that technically we're just outside of now. You know, so like they're not going to be able to market so much to us, like, maybe like a new car or something like that. Yeah. Maybe not everything else.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
I got to wrap it up.
That's the signal. We'll catch you guys next time.
Okay.
See ya.